and welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Stereotypes. I'm Kel Dansby, here with my co-host Andreas Hale, and today we are joined by the amazing, the illustrious, the sometimes infamous Effy is in the building. Look at that $1 million smile.
Hello, thanks for having me. This sounds like it's going to be pretty interesting conversational stuff. Sometimes I get asked weird questions in interviews, but I imagine we're going to be on more of a topic here today. So I'm kind of excited to get a little deeper into what you guys talk about versus just an overarching career thing, you know?
Definitely. I mean, don't get us wrong. There's going to be weird questions.
Good. No, I mean, there's good and bad weird. There's different weirds.
Yeah,
we celebrate it.
We're going to bring the weird. But no, it's great having you. We definitely appreciate it. It is Pride Month, but I wanted to have you as a guest well outside of Pride Month. It just falls perfectly for us that this is Pride Month, and we get the king of the independent scene. Effy's Big Gay Brunch is my favorite Mania week event. I love it, love it, love it. It was hot as hell this year, but we bypass that. No, it's an incredible event. I can't believe that you're sitting here talking with us. Like, it's so great.
That's crazy. So now, see, this is where I have to pause you for a moment because, you know, I've done a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings out here. You know, like when you talked about how hot that show was, I'm out there sweating. I was sweating all morning. You know, there's. I think part of the problem we had in wrestling is we sort of do hold people to a really high pedestal. And I think that's beautiful. And we need entertainers to look up to, but we also have to be able to like cool them back in as humans because, you know, people with egos and power do things they're not supposed to do. And it's like, we have to now be the eyes of, you can entertain us, you can make us happy, but we're still watching everything. And I want that to be sort of the thing of, we look up to our entertainers, but we're not holding them in the angelic sense as much anymore. Although, I mean, I guess I'm pretty fun to be around. I've learned that.
I would say so. And you know what? I was out there. When we go out to these events, I'm wearing jeans. I'm wearing a shirt. I'm usually wearing a hat. You get to be in fishnets. So yes. You weren't as hot as some other people. Just letting you, mean, it was breathable. You had the right attire for the heat down in Tampa.
If I didn't have to wear anything but that in public, that would be my go-to outfit because I'm so tired of having to put pants on. That's where I become a character. When I have to go to Target, that's a character I'm playing because the real me is just like, I'll wear underwear and walk into the store. I don't care. There's no emotional attachment to you seeing me this way. But, you know, polite society, we can't do that. I have to put pants on and say, hello, how are you? You have to play more of a character like existing in regular society than when I'm just out there, especially at my own show, because it's like, there's no one really like telling me how to act or be. You just kind of exist and float. And then you're brought back to reality when you're like, oh, we got to go to CVS. Put some pants on.
So if I got to ask you, because yeah, we talk about Big Gay Brunch, but I really want to understand, you know, the driving force behind it, because there's so many people who have talked about inclusion in pro wrestling. But when we talk about that, your name always comes up and people talk about how important the Big Gay Brunch was. When you conceptualize this, did you think of it as a one-off? Did you think it would turn into something that you would do annually? What were your thoughts behind this?
Well, you know, the driving force behind Effy, unfortunately, and what's the language level on this show?
It's as bad as you want it to be.
Yeah, we don't care.
For you to kind of understand this, when people say, oh, what does Effy stand for? Really, it's the shortened version of a biblical name that means bearing much fruit. Because I think it's funny to take things from the Bible. And, you know, that's a pretty gay name, bearing much fruit. But I've explained it before as the E is for electric, the F is for fantastic, and the rest is fuck you. And that's been my mentality the whole time when going about making sure we have LGBTQ representation, making sure these people who have so much talent that I see in them have places to go. And back when Rise used to run events, I sort of cut a promo at one of their shows where I wasn't booked on the Pride show, which is fine with me, but I still ran in, beat up Shotzi Blackheart, took a microphone and said, listen, you're not going to hear from these gay people upstairs today because they're excited to finally be included. And that's awesome. But I already have independent money of my own. I'm not worried about going to TV. I don't care whether or not you book me because I will get my pay. But if you don't book these people who have so much to give to this business and have so much new brain power when it comes to storyline and the way matches are structured and just the way we think about things, if you don't include them, I will not only be angry and upset with you, but I will ruin whatever you have. And as we went into creating events of our own, the first time we did the Effy's Big Gay Brunch, it never actually happened. It's the original Tampa show. And as I looked at what I was booking there, I think, thank God it didn't happen, because I was trying to bring what wrestling fans wanted as clout and what, I thought would bring more people in, and including a lot of LGBTQ people, but also making sure, we got to have the juice. We got to make sure people actually come. And really, in the middle of speaking out, in the middle of all these things coming out about people who in our business who had been abusing their power, people who had been stepping into spaces and messing with people. And, it's built on a secret, professional wrestling. We're working together. That's the secret. But when you look at it, inside of wrestling, they have used the fact that there are secrets at the top of this to use secrets everywhere. And as people sat home and sat through that, they said, I feel comfortable enough to finally tell my story. There's no consequence to my secrets anymore. And it was good that we went through that. But as I was trying to book a show, not only in a pandemic, but during a time where I am seeing people, who I thought I knew being called out for terrible things, I really pulled the reins back in and said, I'm only booking people who I know personally, know their real names, have hung out with them. And through my years of independent wrestling, I had certain connection I've made, and I've been to a lot of places. People go, well, Effy's not signed anywhere. Effy doesn't do this. There's only like 20 states that I haven't wrestled in yet. So I'm still getting around the country and I'm seeing wrestling at all levels. And when I start to bring in, there's usually a little gay misfit here or there everywhere. And when you start to look at the bigger picture of it and go, if I was in charge of this, I know the level of these people's skill. Their promoters don't even know the level of these people's skill. If I could get a hold of them, we could really make magic. And having to almost forcibly put that trust in myself to say, you're only booking people you really know, it forced us also to create, hey, here's the biggest gay show that's really ever happened. Here's people you may know or may not know who are a part of our community. Here, I want you to see them shine. And the fans took to it and said, these aren't people we necessarily have seen 100 matches from. We haven't seen them before and we're paying to see them again, but we are trusting you for the experience, and we are trusting the wildness of this event for the experience and for the entertainment, and just to feel the representation. That when they went out there and showed out the way they did, it sort of cemented in my mind, which is wrestling fans are open to whatever you put in front of them. And any promoter who makes the excuse of that's not what our fans want or that's not what our fans need, as we have come away from that event and booked more of them, regular wrestling shows have really started incorporating a lot of these people more and on higher platforms and at higher levels, because there's not that question there anymore of, are they on the same level as these guys? It's, they were never given any kind of plate or chance to do that, and now have a spot where I said to them, do literally whatever you want. I booked you because it's you. Do what you want. They're never told that as gay wrestlers. I know this as a gay wrestler. You are told how to be and how to be gay and how to be queer by people who are white and cis and heterosexual. And it's a very difficult thing most of the time. So the fact that the fans have gotten behind this platform, that is a platform built on, I know you've been told how to do things, but do it yourself. And it's people I know personally. And now through those connections, we are meeting more people, and more people are feeling more comfortable coming out. The sky's the limit at this point. Once a year, I think, is the minimum. What we're looking at now is, how do we attach this within more of a bigger wrestling picture? How do we get this everywhere it needs to be so we can include more people? How do we attach this to more shows and create newer, weirder venues that maybe don't always feel like wrestling, but are truly the core of wrestling?
No, I mean, man, I really hope that gets off the ground quickly, because GCW is coming to Vegas in August. So, if you want to do something, we'll be
Absolutely.
there. We'll be there to support. No, it's such an amazing thing what Big Gay Brunch has turned into. The hype around the first year, obviously, and then it not happening, just built and built and built for this year. The one thing that sticks out to me, though, and I read an article someone did on you, which was amazing, and I'll find their name, but it was about you reclaiming the word gay in pro wrestling, because one had a negative connotation early, and the good old boys back in the days and all that stuff in the locker rooms and how bad it was. And then it was, you can't say gay at all. And then now you've kind of reclaimed it and made it something completely different and to be proud of. And again, big gay brunch. Amazing. What went into
beyond that? Here I am. My Wrestling is Gay shirt right here.
Okay, I'm gonna need that merch.
Yeah, I growing up as, you know, a closeted child who doesn't really know what's going on in a religious household, you know, there's a lot of confusion. And when you look at people calling something you like gay and you go, well, is that bad? Because I'm gay, but maybe but I'm not, I don't want to watch wrestling because these men are naked. I want to watch it because they're entertaining me. And maybe there's a little part of that, but I was kind of stoned and joking with my friend. I was like, wrestling is so gay and I love it so much. And he was like, that's the key. And so this like new clothing line we've just sort of built out called Wrestling is Gay. It went really big, really fast, like bigger and faster than I thought it would. Like so far, and this is just like donation, what we've been able to donate. Like we've donated $4,000 to a charity here in Atlanta called Lost and Found Youth. And they do job training. They do homelessness assistance. They do mentorships. They do free food and clothing. Like it's top to bottom. Hey, are you struggling? We are here to help with whatever you need. And so to be able to take something like Wrestling is Gay, I love it, and turn that into real activism in a community. And also like, here's the facts. And nobody really wants to talk about this. When we did the 24-hour GCW block, a man sponsored Alley Cat's Hot Girl Shit block, which is a block to celebrate female talent. Well, someone did Facebook digging on this guy and come to find out he's like a Proud Boy, right-wing, crazy nut supremacist. And she called me almost in tears. And I said, Kat, I said, give the money back immediately. Fuck this dude. Fuck him away. And it wasn't a question of give the money back. It was, well, how am I supposed to pay these girls? How are we supposed to make the sponsorship? Who's going to do it? Well, with Wrestling is Gay, I was able to go, whatever that amount of money is, tell me, we're paying it. I will sponsor the block. Not because I want people to go, oh, he sponsored the block, but because I want to create a mobility and independent wrestling where I don't have a boss. I don't have anyone I go to. Nobody's got me on a leash. Nobody's telling me what to do, but I still have the financial mobility to go, if I want to help out here or there, if I want to help somebody get merch for the first time, if I want to help out with a show, if I want to give money to charity, we're able to build something through a silly phrase that is capable of keeping wrestling in a certain way and keeping the mentality of like, hey, you want to call something gay? Well, good. You just did. And now we gave money to a gay charity. It's a constant, it's a constant build. I just want it to keep building. And I think we're just scratching the surface because the funny thing to me is people are like, oh my God, you're so hot in wrestling. You're so this, you're so that. Oh my God. But when I think about how I am in the gay world, I'm this. And like, yeah, I just hosted a Tampa Gay Pride Parade, but what was the picture they used in the paper? It was Sonya Deville and Titus O'Neil with the mayor, even though they weren't a part of the parade, even though they weren't in the official pamphlets, even though they weren't, you know, sanctioned to be there. And part of me, the little selfish part of me goes, oh, well, WWE sent them out real quick because they knew there was a wrestler literally featured in the parade. And then the other part of me goes, maybe they just wanted to come to the Pride Parade. But in that gay world, there is so much expansion that we can find. And part of that comes from going, hey, you guys can actually come to wrestling shows now. People aren't going to attack you. People aren't going to berate you for being different. You don't have to fit into a little Southern box to go to a wrestling show anymore. And people just don't know about us yet. The wrestling world, wrestling news travels quick. Even if it's stuff you don't watch, you probably know something about it. But the gay world has not gotten all the way on us yet. And so I want to see where we can go when people who don't think they like wrestling watch our brand of wrestling. How quickly are we going to gain new fans that these big federations and corporations were never able to get to because honestly, they're cowards and they're too scared to stick their toe all the way in the water because, oh, I got bit one time when we tried it, even though you fucked around. Oh, I got bit. That's why they don't do it. It's not because we don't like that. It's we really don't know what we're doing. And the last time we did it, we got bit so bad it fucking sucks. So just everybody be quiet. You can be proud. We can reference things, but don't say you're gay. Just keep it to yourself. You know, Darren Young is gay, but the character portrays Darren Young is gay, but Darren Young is not gay. Like it's that mentality of like, oh God, what would happen if? And I'm going, yeah, here's what would happen if, and you get none of it.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. So You said a lot, and there's a lot I want to follow up
I know.
on.
I'm so sorry.
No.
I told
don't.
you I ramble. I am going to eat a Twizzler, though.
You'll eat that. You can't apologize for this, because one of the things I wanted to touch on that you mentioned is you look at these mainstream companies that have attempted to inject gay storylines with straight wrestlers. And when you talk about dipping the toe, it sounds like two things that immediately come to mind are Billy and Chuck and Goldust. Where do you think it goes wrong? Because I can tell you right off the bat, representation in the writers' room matters, because who's the hell's telling these stories? But is there something flawed here where they're not getting, like, the talent doesn't understand what they need to be, what they're doing? They're getting thrust into a role that they're trying to portray a character. How do you feel about somebody that's a straight white male playing a gay character, and then the writers being straight white males writing for these characters? How does this make you feel?
I think now with as much communication between the audiences and sort of the wrestling world that's in the business, it would be damn near impossible for them to keep up and act like that, especially nowadays. And I think that the bigger problem is sort of, if somebody was, oh, I'm straight, but I play a gay character, like, honey, keep it up for 2 years. See how that feels. It's faking it is a lot of work. We know, we've been in the closet. So when I think about the real problems now, it is that locker room and not locker room, but that writer room diversity sort of. And beyond that, we do things out of fear a lot of times. And in these companies that have shareholders or have advertisers or have these things, there's still the idea of the nuclear family and the Nielsen box family and the, oh, what if Aunt Grace saw this mentality, when in reality, a lot of us have moved our entertainment away from the simple. And you look at shows on HBO or shows on AMC, or these shows that are taking writing and character development and taking risks with their characters. Those are the shows that people are tuning into week after week after week. And not the shows where you tune in and you go, there was nothing to it. There was nothing to grip to. There was nothing substantial. It was flashy, but I can't remember it. I may not go back to it. By sticking so safe where they are now, there's just a saccharine sort of gloss over everything, and everything is so slippery that there's nothing that the human can grip to. And with as much option as we have nowadays in entertainment, I can't stick around to something that doesn't fill my gut, that doesn't feel like I can hold on to it. And what they will learn, as time goes on, as we gain distribution in the independent wrestling world and are in front of new audiences, is by playing it safe so long, they didn't gain new fans. They kept certain fans feeling safe, but they dwindled away the fans who were there for the Attitude Era, when things were a little pointier, when things were a little wilder. And I'm not saying that they were correct politically in what they were doing, but there are things that had more grip to them. There are feuds that had more meat to them. And that keeps the adult American audience more satiated than just this flashy little stuff. Yeah, kids watch Coco Melon. It's flashy, colorful. It has no substance. They sing Baby Shark 100 times and it does gangbusters on Netflix, but it is not attracting new people or audiences. It is there for children to fill time looking at without having to think through it too much. As adults, we demand more in our entertainment, and it surprises us because as wrestling fans, we want to like it so much. We will bend over backwards to say we like it so much and never admit that possibly they're not coming along with me as I become an adult and a grown-up and grow into things that are a little more dark, not necessarily dark, but a little more mature in a way that, like I said, you can grip onto.
No, that's so true. I mean, my daughters just were in the living room. They just watched the finale of Pose and cried because that show ended. And I mean, they're 14 and 16. So
and those are crazy adult themes that they're able to process, and they probably can talk about with you. You're not going, we can't show a 14-year-old a gay person. No. They're going, not only are we going to show you a gay person, we're going to show you what a Black trans woman was going through in the 80s when everyone hated them. And you're not worried about, oh gosh, is she going to grow up to be okay? You're not having that thought because we're rational consumers.
Exactly. And having that there, and just the accessibility and the conversation is the biggest thing. Like you touched on, the conversation between children and parents, between adult to adults, just that conversation is so big. And that's something that a lot of people get by watching you and other wrestlers. Now it feels like on the independent level more than the mainstream level. Be yourselves. Just be out there and say, I am this. And then, okay, we can have a discussion. I read, because I believe you identify as queer.
Yeah, I usually say queer. I mean, I think the gay thing for me, branding wise, and it sucks to say like, oh, gay is a brand, but it is the most aggressive version of what I can be towards you. And it is the most aggressive to me version of what I am. My life partner is a man. I'm not going around like seeking women all the time, but I have had plenty of relationships with women. I have had sex with women, and I have had relationships, not relationships really, but I've had, experiences and been around a lot of different things in the community. This is where my lane is. And I do feel more queer. And I like that queer is also kind of an open term because we don't have to box ourselves. There's like people who come to me and they're like, I think I might be bisexual. And I go, cool, that can be your thing. You think you might be, or maybe you are, or maybe you're not. I don't know. You don't have to decide at any point. We want to get these labels on us because it's easier for us to connect with people, especially as LGBTQ people. We've been stuck to the outside. So the moment we get in a community, it can be really important for development for yourself. But when we also get past that level and open up our levels and go, let me make sure and let me check in on myself and let me have honest conversations, I find myself in the queer label and I can't get away from that.
I want to go back real quick because we touched on the WWE and some of the talent and mainstream. Is pro wrestling more liberal than people would like to think? Because the fans seem extraordinarily liberal, but then you look at the WWE and obviously, Vince and Linda had connections to the Trump cabinet and all these things. But when do the fans change what the industry is rather than the dominant figure trying to tell the fans what they're supposed to like?
It's really funny to me because even going to shows in South Georgia, North Florida, there are fans who would lean conservative who in this day and age are still like very liberal about gay things and no gay people and no, the best way I've thought about it is this. When the wrestling was in the 70s and the 80s, and you look at where our society was politically and in their beliefs, wrestling was reflecting a lot of the problems we had outside, where you can go back and say, well, wrestling was racist, it was misogynistic, it was homophobic, it was transphobic, but so was a lot of our mainstream view at that time. And what society's view was, we were still fighting through that. And at the end of the day, promoters back then wanted to sell tickets. So they knew if they put the little haha gay boy out there as the heel character, it would get heat and they'd want to see him get beat up and it might sell a ticket. And they knew that if the African Savage came out, that they would, oh, what a mystery. Oh, of course they're like that. It would sell tickets. But wrestling, instead of recognizing that, has never caught up with the fact that the goal of wrestling is to sell tickets. And now I'm looking around and I'm going, I've seen no more liberal crowds in my life than at some of these wrestling shows. There is a reflection in not only where our whole country is at and how we are sort of loosening the belt, so to say, loosening the Bible belt. I'm a very Southern person. When you look at that and you go, if the reflection of our country is going in this direction, and obviously there's still a lot of Trumpers and hateful people and, white supremacy ideas out there. But when you want to sell the tickets, who's buying the tickets? And look at your door and look at the measure of your door. When I even looked around, a show in Pittsburgh the other week, I was like, this is a very diverse crowd. This is very wild. Everyone seems very liberal and excited to be here. And they just don't realize that like these things that sold tickets back in the day that they're not allowed to do anymore in their wrestling world, they think that, oh, well, we've got to come up with something different. Well, yeah, of course you do, because it's not the same fan that is watching Hulk Hogan that is here watching Seth Rollins as much as you wish it was.
Yeah, I mean, you have to adjust to your audience, adjust to the times. At the top, I mean, good luck. It's an audience of one, and it's that
a mess,
to say the least.
Yeah, but it's great too, because a lot of people, our fan base does, but a lot of people on the outside only have that portrait of professional wrestling being those top promotions. But the independent scene is vastly different. So a lot of the crowds you mentioned, like you go to a GCW show, it's a crowd, all different types of people, all different walks of life, politically, all different types. It doesn't matter. They're cheering for the baby faces. They're booing the heels. I went to the Vegas show. I think you wrestled. You got booed out of the building.
Yeah, fantastic. I said, listen, I said, give me 2 minutes and we'll really get them fired up. But there's a trust level in wrestling where, they want to come along for the ride. Whether or not, the first thing people always say is, oh, wrestling's fake. And it's like, in what sense, sir? Because in this room, it certainly is not. And when everyone is there with you and everyone is of the understanding and everyone is ready to fall into the disbelief, then you have a real moment in a room with that many people. And I think, the GCW motto sort of is like adaptability. And it's, hey, if the fans are reacting to something and if the fans want to see something, they're the ones that pay the tickets. We should give that a shot. And trusting that mentality versus I know the business, I'll tell you how things go, which is what it's like everywhere else. There is an openness to succeed for people who wouldn't be given those chances elsewhere. And it's kind of like across the board. It's when they're booking GCW, they're not asking for a quota and they're not looking for a certain amount of certain things. It's sort of like, hey, if that shit is good, like we want to have that on our show, because if people want to see it, we're GCW, we're the best of the best. We got to have the best shit here, no matter what that shit is. And you really look at how much different wrestling there is in GCW and how many different things, are able to succeed there. And you'd think the other companies would pick up on some of it, and some of it they have, but what they forget is that we're riding our own ship back there for the most part. And when you let performers who are trained to perform and entertain do their thing without as much editing as you think they need, you'll actually get the grip of that product versus a kind of sanitized version. Because if I went to a TV company, I assure you, they would tell me how to present my gay. It would be a white man telling me how to present my gay. I know it happens every week. I know there's a lot of people who hear the phrase tone it down all the time. And that's not just for the gay stuff. It's sort of across the board. And when they start taking these risks, they're going to be like, oh yeah, well, of course we got success with that. It was our idea to take a risk when like we've been doing it the whole time.
I got to ask you, how do you feel, because we talk about the progression and these companies, how do you feel about Jake Atlas's presentation in NXT?
His presentation?
Yeah, like how do you feel? Because he's signed and they haven't really touched on who. I feel like there's a market there, especially for Jake. Like Jake, everybody knows who Jake is, but I don't know if he's being underutilized. He's wildly talented. It's just very strange how he's been presented on NXT.
Now, I have to be careful answering this one.
I know you do.
He is personally, Jake Atlas is one of my favorite people in the world, and we've had really deep conversations. And so I'll kind of send this to the office, because this is a problem across the board in WWE and NXT in these places. And I'm not telling everyone they should go 100% all the time, but they aren't really choosing to highlight the best parts of a lot of their talents. And when I look at someone like Jake, I see bits of Jake shining through. I see things that he maybe slid by them, like his LGBT DDT is now called Stonewall, which is a riot where gay people were beaten by cops and fought back and said, fuck you. Now, for those of us that know, what a magic moment. But think of the importance of Michael Cole going, and he named that move after the first riot that led to Pride celebrating overcoming the abuse that gay people were taking in the city. What a magic moment that would be. I mean, that'd be 6 USA Today headlines in a row talking about, wow, they finally took the leap. And it's little things like that that he is able to get in there. But I know that they are editing everyone down there so much that they're never going to be able to be the best version of themselves. And I know in our conversations, he said, WWE is somewhere I want to be. It's somewhere I've wanted to be since I was a kid. And the way I put it to him and the way I still stand by it today is this: I am always going to be on the outside yelling at the wall. I'm a believer in comedy that we punch up, and I'm a believer in the world that we punch up. It doesn't benefit me to tear down someone that is beneath me. There is no benefit. But if we can tear down the people that are above us doing things that we don't like, then that's great. And I said, but Jake, on the inside is where you actually get things done. And having you in there and sticking around, and even if you don't like what they're giving you at first, and even if they're not letting you be 100% yourself at first, I jokingly said, some of those shows are still live, pal, and they need to have you there, and you are there for a reason. And being on the inside, the best thing he could do right now is get as pissed off as he wants to get and say, no, damn it, this is what I'm doing. You brought me in and I'm going to do myself, because what are they going to do? Are they going to fire the gay boy for asking to be gay that they hired because they knew he was gay? He is a fantastic wrestler, but we know sometimes when we get in those moments, we are filling a little bit of a diversity quota, and that's okay as long as we get our pay and we get our shine and we get equal chance to at least get over with the crowd. And that hasn't been given yet. And so I hope that he finds the moment to say, I have nothing to lose here. They're either going to take it and run with it and it'll work because I know it'll work, or I'm going to be back and I'm going to be the hottest thing on the scene, a free agent for someone that finally does want to step up and use me as a main event player, because he knows he is. He's incredible.
I want to follow that with an anecdote real quick, because when Bianca and Sasha wrestled in WrestleMania, a lot of us popped when Michael Cole said 2 African-American women in the main event. But it seems like something that should have been said a long time ago. When you talk about acknowledging and recognizing, commentators should do their part too. Obviously, they have Vince in their ear, but it felt like such a big moment. And then I stepped back and I said, well, shit, they should have done this a long time ago. They should have acknowledged women's wrestling a long time ago. They should have acknowledged these things a long time ago. Are we still getting crumbs at the end of the day when it comes to the mainstream companies, that we're getting excited about crumbs when we deserve so much more?
I'll start it with this. I think looking at Bianca's rise is really incredible, because she is very, very talented. She is very, very charismatic, but she is not the first to be. And there are times when you look back on women's wrestling, and I look at people like Jackie, and I look at people like Alicia Fox, and I look at a lot of these women in the division who were sort of, we could see how talented they were in these stupid little matches they would give them, these 4-minute situations. And what we see with Bianca is, when she is able to take it by the reins and able to be herself and able to perform in these matches that give her the time to develop a story in a match and really create the drama, there's no ceiling for her. And to go that fast in the main event, you're always going to have haters who go, well, she's even too young to be in the main event. No, these are the two that were operating at the highest drama level, at the highest athletic level, and that people wanted to see the most. It wasn't put there for a diversity reason. It was because, like, these two girls are the ones that are killing it the hardest, and this is the belt that they want to see in the main event. So it's very exciting to see her get those reigns, but it's so silly to me that this is in 2021 or 2020, whatever. This is the first time we are, sort of letting Black women do their own thing, or even letting women do their thing. And we've had evolution, but what did we hear after evolution? We heard about Stephanie McMahon telling everyone she made the women's revolution and she did everything, or the Bellas acting like there was no women's wrestling before them or after them. It's always going to be crumbs until they're forced to our ways. And I won't be in there when it happens, but if we can sort of guide the train, the only thing that's ever going to speak to them is money and buy rate and tickets sold. And we are going to prove to them outside of them that, like, it's possible on all those levels. And like, even now in the indies, I look at someone like Trish Adora, who Trisha's been busting her ass for years, and now seeing the rest of the world kind of catch up to Trish and see how good she is and what level she can operate at on the indies. Even, the Black women aren't treated as well. And now you see everyone sort of praising and getting behind her, and you go, she's just the start. There are so many women out here that could do just what you're expecting them to do, but we are still at a lot of these independent shows booking mostly white guys and booking mostly, and it's odd to me. It's weird. I know I'm rambling a bit there, but like, I have a lot of strong thoughts. And like, when you put a person in a position that says, hey, here's what I can do, and instead of going like, well, could you do it like this and 50% less and in this box and wear a turkey suit, you go, just do what you do. It shouldn't surprise people that they succeed. It should never surprise people.
To follow up on that, how scary is it as an entertainer to be 100% yourself? Because it doesn't matter on the indies, the highest level. We mentioned, like, you look at Jake in NXT, you look at Sonya Deville on the main roster. They're letting her wear suits now, but they're not acknowledging it. But she can dress how she wants to dress a little more and be who she wants to be. Sunny Kiss, thankfully AEW's allowed Sunny to be Sunny. came out with the cheerleaders, with the Jaguars cheerleaders, huge entrance against Cody that one time. But it's still,
there you go. That last 3 words you said, that one time.
That one time. Like, can you be 100%? They'll give you 20, 30, 40, 50. How scary is it to be 100% before you do it? Like, now I feel like you're 100%. You grew to that. How scary is it to embrace that?
I got told a lot of times that I would be done. Like, there were so many times they were like, no one's ever going to book you again. No one's ever going to deal with you again. And every time I sort of like stuck to my guns on things, people followed me. And the promotions may not have followed me, but there was sort of a spirit that people were like getting behind, that even if I wasn't going to get booked on this thing because of stuff I had said, or I had a match with a child, or whatever the case may be, they were still getting behind wherever I was going. And there's sort of a lot of doors that I shut myself by being 100% myself, but I take on the pressure and responsibility of my own. It's all on me, basically. Like, when you're 100% yourself, it's all on you. And if you can get people on board with you, they can't really stop you. But there's people who aren't, that isn't their dream in this, to continue to like hope the indies get better and slave at it and party at it and beat at it and go and hustle every day until I'm dead. There are people who just want a guaranteed paycheck. And I hope that by being as loud and yelling as much and getting as, vocal as I can about all this stuff and being 100% myself, that like, I'm not trying to be a martyr here by any means, but I would like for things to be, I would like for me to get done and somebody go, I'm glad he did all that shit first, because this got fixed, or this is a little better, or that's a little easier to do. Like, I want to get that work out of the way, because it's not just about me. Like, I truly love professional wrestling. I want to leave it much better than I got in here, because when I got in here, I got into wrestling as a 23-year-old. I was an adult. I was managing a business. And I wasn't a little kid who was like, I'm scared to speak up. I was going, these are bad business practices. This is not good stuff. This is stuff that's bad. And obviously you catch a lot of heat early, but when people start catching up to you, like it's worth letting that fruit grow and betting on yourself a little bit, because they may not catch up right away, but when they do catch up, it's a greater reward because you never had to bang your knee.
Going back to when you got into the business, did you come into wrestling as a gay man, or did you kind of weren't sure how to present yourself when you first started?
I think I presented myself a little bit more ambiguously as I started, but I started my wrestling training, the same week I came out to everyone. So it was sort of a hand-in-hand thing. And I think a lot of times when I was working Southern states, which is, the first 2 or 3 years of my career, it was a lot of Southern state stuff because that's what was local to me. I was like almost treating it like therapy and working through my own gayness to get to that comfort level. And having people harass me was beneficial to me because it taught me how to be witty and how to bounce back and what to take seriously and what not to take seriously. And it was me working through myself. So like when people are like, oh, you have a great character, I'm like, this is just like who I've worked through to at this point, being 100% raw and myself in the ring. And I've kind of joked before that, like, I'm a moody wrestler and I'm an emotional wrestler. Like, you're going to get who shows up that day. You're going to get 100% of that guy, but also like, it's authentically going to be me. You're going to get who I get. If you see me being super aggressive that day, there's probably a reason. If I'm doing a lot more comedy stuff that day, I'm probably feeling all right. But I stuck to being authentically myself, and a lot of doors were closed. But like, when you're at this part of your story, you're not even thinking about the things you didn't get to do, because being myself put me on the exact path that got me here talking to you guys. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what would have happened if I would have just shut up and put on the trunks and said, yeah, come on, let's go. I wouldn't be anywhere.
Yeah, that's very true. We've talked to Sonny before on this show, and one thing that Sonny pointed out was how you present yourself in character. There were many promotions that were like, okay, but you can't work stiff then, or your moveset can't be this because you're presenting yourself as, A, so you can't work like B. Is that something you've ever run into? Because your style is, just technical wrestling. Sometimes you're a brawler. You go in there, beat the hell out of people.
Emotional.
Death match. Your work rate is incredible. Have you ever had someone say like, hey, that doesn't match your character, or you have to be dainty, or you have to do this because this is who you present yourself as?
It's been a very, very long time since I've heard that, but I do like to, if you kind of watch Effy matches, I sort of present in a way where like I almost don't know I'm in a wrestling match in some of these matches for the first like 2 or 3 minutes, and something usually wakes me up or has to get me to that point. Like I still like to maintain that like Effy is enjoying being in the ring with these people. And like, even I remember, me and Allie are tagging a lot more now as Bussy, which I only named it that. So people would have to say that out loud. Like hearing straight guys have to announce Bussy. That's the funniest shit to me in my whole life. And so like, we'll be in the ring like, oh, let's get this big old twink up in the corner. And that's like authentically me in the ring being like, look at this little twink over here. We got to beat his ass. That's like how I feel and how I present. So I want there to be gay aggression. I think that's something we are missing. And I even had a conversation with Sonny where I was like, hey, you're about to go to TV. If you can get that, just that grittiness, and who knows what they're telling him, and that's fine. I'm sure it's correct because they're, they have more viewers than me, and that's cool. But having that grittiness as a gay person and that violence as a gay person is going to take us to the next level beyond, oh, I got to fight the gay boy. He might grab my butt. I don't want to piss this guy off because I've seen him snap before. If I can get through this match without making him mad, maybe we'll be okay. They should be scared of us. They should be worried about what happens if we show up. I'll use this for example. Dark Sheik, who is a wrestler in Vegas, is a trans woman, started Hood Slam, which is a very cool, crazy promotion from Oakland. She was out on the town with MV Young after a show in Las Vegas, and someone started saying some homophobic and transphobic things to them. And MV, of course, wants to run his mouth before he throws a fist. But Dark Sheik just gave this guy a shoot STO to the ground and started kicking him. And Michael calls me, MV calls me, he's like, it was incredible. And I know Sheik, and she's no bullshit. And having that visual of like, if you say these words to us, we will just attack you in the road. Like that is where we need to be at. That's the mode we need to be in. They need to be scared to piss us off. They don't need to be worried about, oh, they'll be offended if I say a word. They need to know that like it's on site if we hear it and if it's around us or if we catch wind of it, because that's the way shit changes. You make them scared. And so when people watch me, I want that violence. I want that crazy. I want that eventual just snapped and nuts and he's lost his brain. And I want there to be a little bit of that fear in people of like, we better be not saying the wrong thing because he's whatever. And I want someone to go, oh, he's what? And then find out.
Now randomly, real quick, that just gave me a visual. I have to see like a gay version of the Gangsters, like New Jack and them, but gay version, like just real scary, just in the Southern Territory, just beating the shit out of people. I need that in my life for pro wrestling.
I think that's perfect.
That would be pretty awesome. Effy, how is there a separation between Effy the wrestler and the person outside of the ring now, or you found out that like shit, they kind of just come together now, and it's just like this is who I am?
I have to have a tiny separation only because of my boyfriend. He will not let me be Effy around him. It is a very different situation with him in the house. And there's a lot of times where people come into our world and they're like surprised, like he's sort of my dom. And in the wrestling world, I'm kind of like running around like a dom. Like I've jokingly said before, I'm like, yeah, the promoter loves it when all of you act like subs, but they need to be dominated sometimes too. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's a really silly way to look at it. But like, I'm a dominating force sometimes. I know this objectively. When I come into a room, I can work a room and I can have a room. And when I come home, like, number one, I do take more naps as non in the ring Effy, but also like, I have to humble myself to be home, and I have to like learn how to do housework, and I have to know that I need to take the trash out, and like I need to walk the dog, and I probably should pick things up and do the laundry once in a while. There's a much more submissive, subdued Effy that is at home when he's around the boyfriend, which thank God he doesn't come to all the shows, because if he was there, I'd be like puppy dogging up to him every 10 minutes. Do you need anything? Sir, do you need anything?
All right, what's party Effy like then? Not boyfriend Effy, like out in the street. Oh,
can you read that?
Lip tattoo party Effy?
Hold on, let me see here if I can get it in the camera. I need to. It says party. It says party. It's hard to read. It's gone away a little bit. It says party with a period because I mean business when I party. And I always tell people like keep up. If you ask people who knew me in college, they're like, oh, Effy's crazy. Did you know him back then? And they're like, he was crazier then. not drinking anymore, when people are around me, they're like, you don't drink? I'm like, I know, I'm nuts. Because like, I have such a like nonstop energy. And especially when I'm around people who want to talk and want to talk about stuff, I can go all night and I can just talk your head off. I am down to do crazy stuff. I'm always, up for an adventure. It can be detrimental to my life, but it hasn't stopped me yet, if that makes sense. Those GCW withdrawals,
I live by the same credo. All right. We're covering the same cloth.
Oh my goodness. So Effy, with what everything you've done for the community in pro wrestling, when you got in, did you think that you'd be doing what you're doing now? Like, did you have an envision of it, like maybe being an advocate for change in this business?
Dude, I got in because I stopped drinking and I needed to feel something. And like, my goal was like, maybe I'll run the ropes and like have a couple matches and get it out of my system. And as I just continued, it sort of snowballed into like, oh, you've got work to do. And like, especially in the last 2 years, there's sort of been this conversation in my head that I've answered as of recently, which is, I have two choices. One is to just keep doing matches and ride off into the sunset when it's time. And the other is to go all the way into the weeds and make sure that we handle this shit here before I'm dead. And that sounds, stupid because I'm 31, but like, you never know with this stuff. I hope to live to be 500. No cap. Because my great grandma, she lived to be 110. And guess what? She was born in the 1800s. Medical science is not that good, and she lived a real long time. I think it's getting better. I'll be real frustrated if I don't hit at least 300, if I'm being honest. But it's sort of the mentality of like, I'm about to jump into the most work of my life. I'm about to be busier than I ever was when I had a real job. And it's not just because I'm taking more bookings, but because we have so much work to do. And it's going to be angry, thankless work a lot of the times, but there's a lot of times that I already get enough thanks to where I can do the sort of thankless shit on the side and I don't care. I am ready to go. I am so motivated. And I had this thought the other day because I have something coming up that I can't talk about, and it's huge to the point where like I will be known by very many people. And I was talking to someone about it and they said, you're really going to piss them off. And I said, why? And they said, because your clout has only grown and grown and grown, and more people are listening to you, and everything you have clout wise is organic because I'm not relying on a company or someone else to put me over. GCW gave me a lot of great clout, but would I not be out just doing the same shit if it wasn't under their roof? I don't know. When I hit this real peak and when I really get going, and people will know by about January how big it's going to be, they're not going to be able to get rid of me, and I am only going to be louder. And these dynasties that they think are untouchable are going to now have a force of nature in wrestling that has no one holding their leash, no one telling them what to say, no one telling them how to act or be, and no ceiling on what they can do. I'm not going to be taken off the TV show because I'm getting too hot. I'm not going to be pushed a little differently because I'm getting too over. I'm not going to be put to the side where they can't hear me as much or not given the press opportunities. It's all me. And when it hits that level, it sounds like I'm like going, oh, you'll see. But for real, you will see. We're about to do some really big stuff. And it's outside of the world of wrestling. It has nothing to do with wrestling, but it also has everything to do with wrestling. And that growth gets me so excited because I don't want to get successful just to say, oh, I'm going to break other people's companies. But I want to get to that point to where I look at wrestling and I go, all of you thought that you had everything locked down. You all had plans and plans and plans. You thought this was dynasties forever and no one could touch you. And my little loud ass stepped in and fucked everything up. And along the way, you all told me I wasn't shit, but now you found out I was the only shit. And that's going to be really magical.
It's like the most inspirational shit we've heard on this show.
Well, it'll be way more inspirational when it clicks, when everything clicks and you go, oh shit, Effy. I'm pumped.
I'm like, he did it. No, so one thing I want to do, which we haven't done before, is you've worked with so many different people in the industry, like the who's of names. I want to throw a couple names at you, and I want you to tell me what they've meant to you either personally or in your career.
Okay, that's awesome. This sounds great. If I cry, keep it rolling. It's good footage.
The first one you've touched on, so we can start easy. Allie Cat, what has she meant to you? Let's start personally.
Okay, so personally, I like to explain our connection. We're both viola players, and like in my experience, this is so weird, right? But viola players are like, they're kind of the queerest of all, because violin players are like, well, of course I'm gay. And cello players are like, I'd never be gay. I play a deep cello. But we're sort of in the middle of that. We're like a bisexual fiddle. And it's so awesome being around her because like being viola players, I don't know what it is. I've always gotten along with other viola players. We have always been weird as shit. And she's so weird to me and I'm so weird to her, but we're always like mentally connected in a way. And we have the same kind of thoughts about wrestling. Like we complain to each other about the same things. And it's not, you know, on purpose. It's just like, we'll have the same thoughts about things. And so like having her in my corner to be like, this sounds stupid, doesn't it? And she'll go, yeah, but it's perfect. And it's what you want. And I'll be like, oh, thank you. And I hope that people see with Allie, I hope they see Allie separate from Effy because I want Allie on television. I want Allie to make millions of dollars. I think Allie has so much coming to her. And like part of my responsibility is like looking at my friends and being like, all my friends deserve millions of dollars. How do we do it? I want the best for all of them. And, you know, not to circumvent just talking about Allie, but there's never been a smaller talent difference between the talent that is on the independent level and the talent that is on the TV level, because we are making the choice to stick around here in some ways. And I think Allie is just like scratching the surface of what she's going to be able to do. And especially for women's wrestling, seeing her sort of like take on any challenger, whether they be women, men, anything, it's awesome to see that like that is so appreciated by the fandom too.
Next one, Nick fucking Gage.
Okay, this is, I have to like decide how much info I want to give you. I want to say this. Nick Gage is one of my favorite friends in the whole world. And there's two statements Nick has said to me where like, if you know Nick, these make perfect sense. And they're the biggest compliments of all time. One was he looked at me after a match I had in Indiana. I think it was with Janela. And he goes, you know something, Effy? You're one tough gay. And I was like, God, Nick, like that's the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me. And then one day I showed up in pink overalls, like pink short overalls to one of the Atlantic City shows. And he goes, you know, you're my boy, Effy. And I go, yeah, Nicky. And he goes, I got to tell you something. And I mean it as a compliment. I go, yeah. And he goes, you're looking like extra gay today. And I was like, Nick, thank you so much. Nick told me the other day, and I have to censor this a little bit because I can't give it all away. He basically was very upset that he had a match with me because not because of who I was, but because everyone keeps coming up to me and talking about fucking Effy. Effy's the fucking man. Oh, Effy's so sick. He's going to beat you for a championship. And Nick like takes a little of that personally, and I don't blame him. But after the match, and it really took him a little while to talk about it, he was like, I was going to fuck with you. And he was like, Brett didn't want to do glass. I said, we're doing all glass. And he goes, and I usually can see the look in a pussy's eye is the way he put it. I can see the look in a pussy's eye when I tell him we're doing glass, and I didn't see that look in your eye. And then you hung at my level, motherfucker. So you're always my boy. And it's like, it's incredible to see that like someone like Nick Gage, no matter what you think he is, no matter what you think he believes, he is like the best dude and is down for everyone and just wants the shows to be sick. The worst thing you could do to Nick Gage is not go 100%. That's the worst thing that you could do in front of Nick Gage.
This name is out of left field. I'm going with Mason Price.
Holy shit, bro. That is such left field. Are you kidding me?
What?
Okay, this is good because this is a meaningful one. This is very meaningful because they gave Mason Price the book at one of these smaller indies in South Georgia, and he kind of saw the reactions I was getting and let me work this almost like year and a half feud with him and his boys. And I got over like fucking Rover. And I started as a heel and everything flipped and they went with it and they were about it. And they had been working a lot longer than me. And they sort of were like, look, you know a lot of things, but you don't know everything. Just like listen and go with us. And by the time we were turning over and I was really hitting that baby stride, like they had lifted me to an awesome level. And so like, I think he lives in Texas now, and I think he's like chilling with his family. But him and Tony Storm like got me over like Rover in those first few years, just being pieces of shit and listening to me and letting us try shit. And it was awesome.
Yeah, I knew I'd throw you for a loop with that
I
one.
love that.
Next one, Danhausen, and that's only because I love the tag team name. Gay Tanic Panic is like one of the best tag team names ever.
Yes. So I've spoken about this a little bit, but with Danhausen, I knew him before he was Danhausen. I knew him when he was Donovan Danhausen. He was in Florida, and he was like kind of like CM Punk-esque, but like quieter and like real serious about everything. And like he really wanted to make sure, you know, oh, I hope I fit in right and I get my tryout. And like literally quit wrestling, was like over it. Was like, I'm done. And went back home to Michigan, got out of Florida, and then stopped giving a fuck. And he'll credit me a little bit with some of this stuff, but truly it's all Danhausen. It's just me saying, hey man, stop giving a fuck. I actually have fun at these shows. That's one thing I always tell people. I go, you know, I have fun at these shows because I see kids going around and they're stressed and they're worried and, oh God, my nerves and I can't. And I'm like, number one, they paid to be here. Number two, you're a wrestler. This is what you're supposed to do. And number three, like, this is enjoyable. We get to do silly stuff in front of an audience and they go crazy. And reminding people of that sometime of like, the core of this is we're here because people want to be entertained and we get to do that. Reminding people of that and telling them to give so much less of a fuck about wrestling for whoever's behind the cameras or may see this or may give you a shot somewhere. You're going to have more fun. And that's when people really start wanting you anyway. And he took that thing by the fucking ball and ran with it because he became the weirdest dude in the world. And like, there's never been another independent wrestler in Hot Topic. I know he's with Ring of Honor now, but when that deal went down, he was fully independent. And that is insane because he trusted his gut and he kept getting weirder. And you still got guys who are like, well, Danhausen's not a wrestler. And I'm like, yeah, well, go do MMA if you want to be a real wrestler. This is a business about entertaining people, and he does it every damn night of his life. And it makes me really happy to see like just his blossom.
He pulls money out of anywhere. And then the final name, we've had her on the show, Faye Jackson. She has twerked on you.
Okay, so I have to really tell y'all, my boyfriend's favorite wrestler is Faye Jackson. This is like the realest thing there is. I only convinced him to come to the collective, not because I was having a show. He didn't get there in time for my show. He just wanted to hang out with Faye Jackson and see Faye. Faye is someone who I'm glad she's happy. And I saw her the other day and she was smiling. And I said to her, I said, that's the biggest smile I've seen on your face in 3 years, if I'm being completely fucking honest. But selfishly, I know how much she means and could mean to wrestling because there are people who see what Faye is capable of doing at her entertainment level and the difference in story and idea and temperature that she brings to the room that no one else is able to do. And it's hard to see her want to walk away from it. And it is completely selfish, but I'm glad that she made the choice herself because she is someone who has never shut her mouth, no matter what it has cost her or where it has put her. She is not going to keep her mouth shut if she thinks something is not right, no matter the situation. And for us to have courage like that and to have the boldness like that, we all should aim for that because there is truth to that. And I promise you that Faye Jackson gets a better night's sleep than most of us that are trying to do something bad or do something sketchy or trying to fit with the system. It's not resting on her brain because she is letting it out there and it has helped so many people more than we'll ever be able to tell her. There are so many people that Faye Jackson has been able to touch and like, what a legacy. Even choosing to leave this early, what a legacy.
You think she's really done? You think she's not coming back?
She swears on it. Me and Billy Dixon were badgering her the whole weekend this weekend, going, but what if it was just this or what if this? None. And you know what though? I said the same thing to someone backstage who was giving me the same conversation. I'm just kind of done. I feel like I've done it all. Nobody wants me. And I sort of said, look, even if you want to step away, don't make a scene just yet. Take your months off, take your year off, take 2 years off, and come back when you're comfortable. Don't feel like things are finished. Don't feel like you have to put an end on them, but people make the choices they make. I truly believe that there is one way to get Faye out of retirement, and it's a great big old sack of money and Shane McMahon. So we'll see what we can do to get her to work again, but it's going to take a lot of work.
And I want to follow it because I have to know, because the match you two had it's infamous. It became just everything else. Can you talk about what went into putting this match together? Did you have any idea that it would become as big as it was when you guys were putting this together? Because this match was absolutely bananas.
So Faye said something to me before that match that I was going to keep private, but I'm going to say it now. And she said, "Look at us." And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "A big black woman and a gay boy on top, and ain't shit they can do about it." And I said, "God damn, you're right." And I think she fired me up enough with that statement to where I was like, we're going to give them everything tonight. Fuck it. Let's go crazy. And like, you can go, oh, well, they stripped on the bar, this and this. But like, if you really break down that match, it had story, it had moves, it had drama, it had fun. And that's what pro wrestling is. And it's, when people try to define that between little lines, they miss out on those moments where you can put together characters like us. And I can be dead serious when I say, like, no matter what, you won't get me hard. Like, that's the angle. It's silly, it's stupid. But when I take it seriously, we bring it to the ring, there's a silly tension and drama that's created that like another story like that may not have been able to do. And we trusted ourselves calling that match. And usually when I'm calling a match and I'm laughing, I know it's going to be a good match. So I was laughing the whole time, and she means the world to me. And I hope people look that match up if they haven't seen it.
I don't know how many people haven't seen it by now, because it was like the talk of the town that week. And I remember I was calling people, I was like, yo, you need to see this match. It is absolutely bananas, but it's like the most fun thing. I mean, it's what pro wrestling is all about, right? Like it's not only that escapism, it's also that enjoyment. Like, it doesn't have to be super serious all the time. I just felt like you guys put together an absolute masterpiece between you two. And
Thank you.
It was I was happy to see that. You know, like I'm happy that we're here talking to you. I've known Faye for a while as well. And it just seemed like there are moments when you see two performers, when they click and they know they're clicking and they know the crowd is with them and you can see it in their eyes. And both of you had that look. It was incredible.
It felt great. And I do want to say, for people that don't like wrestling, like that enjoyment thing you just talked about, yo, if you come to a wrestling show and will just yell for an hour or so, it is so good for your soul and spirit. And Americans have been so quiet and stuck inside. And, you know, it's not our fault, but just go yell at something for a minute. It is so fun to just go yell and enjoy yourself and let out a cackle and not worry about anything. Go let loose.
I was so happy to go to a wrestling show again. Like, I got vaccinated. I was like, I'm in there. And I just lost my shit. And
we're glad you're back.
Yeah, John Moxley almost ran me over and threw Nick Gage through me. It was incredible. I almost lost my shit. I was like, I almost took a bump from Nick Gage. I was so happy. That made my weekend. So no, it's great. I can't wait to see what's to come. The question we usually end on is,
oh, wait. Kel, I got to ask this. Effy, what you think of Nick Gage on the dark side of the ring? Because it felt like that thrust him into another stratosphere altogether.
Dude, it is nuts. So the first thing I have to say is a little bit selfish, which is I kicked out at 2 in the Vice documentary from Nick Gage in the footage they used of our match. And Matt Justice did not kick out. He says he says he had to do the job for the TV show, but I know I kicked out. I feel good about the footage they used, and my ass was all over the thing. But here's the truth. And I tweeted this, but I need people to like understand how crazy this was. I'm walking through a casino in Las Vegas with Nick Cage. We're just hanging out. We were going to go to the pool and make sports bets because whatever. And I was like, what do you want, Nick? He's like, I want a Miller Lite. And I said, all right, well, let me get a Diet Coke and a Miller Lite. And he goes, excuse me, sir, is that Nick Gage? And Nick is used to being recognized, you know, like he's recognized all the time because he's around wrestling fans all the time. And I was like, it is. And he goes, I saw his Dark Side of the Ring last night. That was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Can I say hey to him? And I was like, Nick, come over here. And he's like, hey, saw your documentary last night. I wanted to say hey. And he's just like, what's up? Murder, Death, Kill, Eastern Hate Block. Like, does the Nick Gage thing. This guy's enamored. And I walk away and I go, do you know how crazy that is, Nick? And he was like, yeah, fans, you know, they always want to see me. And I was like, Nick, those aren't fans. Those are people who only know you from the TV show. And this guy was his excited to meet Nick Gage as anyone who is an obsessed wrestling fan is to meet Nick Gage, especially now. And this is my opinion. Other people may see it differently. All of a sudden, Nick Gage is over with America thanks to the Vice documentary. And who's coming off TV but John Moxley coming to see if he can get some of that clout? Who's coming off of his little TV appearances except for Zack Ryder to see if he can get some of that clout? If you had any doubt in your mind whether Nick Gage is truly over, look at who's chasing him right now. The top guys around are chasing him because he's the one, and he's the one who he knows that he can make a guy's career in a night. And these guys already have big careers, but they want it to be cemented even more. They know. And I know Moxley's hungry to get off of that slippery little TV set and come out and have something with a little grit.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I need to see it. And not the Zack Ryder stuff so much, but the Moxley stuff, I'm here for.
Oh, it's going to be bananas.
So our final question, as always, is 5 years from now, where are you? Looking ahead, what are you doing in 5 years? At the young age of 36, by the way.
Running the union.
Yes, please.
Running the union.
I love that answer.
And I'm only saying it because of how many people tell me it could never happen in this country. There could never be a wrestling union. We would never have a union of wrestlers. So I went ahead and joined a different one, and I'm going to create one of our own. We'll get there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the best answer I could have hoped for. It is so needed. Effy, you are amazing. We appreciate you taking your time out, sitting here talking with us. We could have talked for 5 hours, but I'm sure we'll still talk. We got to let you guys go. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you. Make sure you check out all of our other episodes on adfreeshows.com. Check out everyone else on the network. Until next time, though, we're out.
Peace.